Call to order the Tuesday, June 9th, 1 p.m. School Board Workshop. Let's rise for a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance and our national anthem. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Ramirez, present.
Janie, Ruddy.
Furry, present.
Christy, Chong, present.
LaShakia Moore.
Are there any additions or changes to the agenda?
Yes, I request that the legislative update that is at 11.01 be moved directly after the first public comment, and board policy be moved to after 18.01 before the last public comment.
Okay, which one, where are we at with board policy? Oh, the policies.
Yes.
And you want that one to be-
conversation to be the last conversation of today, moving into public comment. So, and legislative update be the first item today, after 6.01.
Okay, can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
Move to approve.
Second.
It's moved by Mr. Ramirez, second by Mr. Furry. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Moved by Ruddy, second by Mr.
It's
Furry.
okay.
Moved by Ms. Ruddy and second by Mr. Furry. Okay, do we have anyone for public comment?
No, we do not.
Okay, and then we'll move on to finance consent.
Before
Seven-
finance, legislative update, no problem. Legislative update, 11.01.
Mr. Sean Sarah, welcome.
Welcome, Mr. Sarah.
And we have Mr. Bob Sarah online.
He needs to monitor me and give me my performance. So. Give me a second while I pull out my notes and just get some papers prepared. Thank you, guys. If you could click to the first slide, I'd appreciate that.
You can keep going.
Okay. All right, well, as you guys well know, we went through a wonderful and long regular session process. 60 days turned into 60-plus days. Two special sessions, well, multiple special sessions, two outside of our regular session, and so we were quite busy this year dodging and shaking. The leadership, as folks well know, our Governor DeSantis, we had our Speaker from Miami-Dade, Mr. Perez, and Senator Albritton as the Senate President. And as we went into session, we had some discourse between the three, And so it was a little bumpy as we moved forward. And so the House presented through the legislative session multiple property tax amendment opportunities that did not get a hearing in the Senate. And so that forced the governor to request the special session. But you could see that through the 60 days that we were dealing with from January through March, that everybody was not on the same page and we were having to work through personal differences. Next year, going 2026 to 2028, we should have a new governor. And so potentially we'll have Representative former Speaker Renner or Congressman Donalds or potentially former Congressman Jolly running and winning the seat, and our leadership will drastically change next year. And so from going from a Governor DeSantis to an unknown governor, we will have to go through the process as it moves forward. The House Speaker will be Sam Garrison from Fleming Allen, just north of us, and so regionally he knows some of our issues and should be a friend and does trust and believe in education. And the Senate President will be Mr. Jim Boyd, moving forward from Bradenton, Florida. So as we move through the process and get towards November, a lot of things will change, and we're hoping at this stage another special session will not be called as we get through here in November. But I will tell you, we are very blessed with our delegation. It's a delegation of two, but the delegation is strong and are growing and are learning as they go through the process. And so I have to truly thank both Representative Greco for his openness and the ability to meet with his office and his staff when needed. And the same called for from Senator Leek. They were always very open to meet with us. I appreciate the board coming and working with me and the folks in Tallahassee, and I truly appreciate staff that had the time to come and go through the process and see a little bit of the rhetoric and the process that Bob and I have to go through just to understand and stay on top of some of the issues so that you can stay here in Flagler and do the good work of educating children and making sure that the community is taken care of. And so we really, once again, want to thank our leadership because they have been wonderful leaders to Bob and I, and we really appreciate the openness both their staff and their offices have provided us. We'll move quickly into the state budget. And the first slide we have dealing with the state budget really shows FTE's bodies in schools. And basically, the conference report we had on total unweighted FTE, 3.21 million students. The district unweighted FTE went down to 2.7, and the scholarship unweighted grew by almost 500,000. And so if you see what the difference is where we're at, unfortunately, declining enrollment, we see there's about 1.2% of a reduction in district school participation. Those choices are going to other places as we see, and the largest choice has been in the scholarship arena. The growth in scholarships at 14% shows the drastic change in the philosophy of the state on how we are funding and how we choose to provide opportunities to all children. The next slide we will go to is the education budget, and these are some of the high-level base numbers that really we are basing our budget as we move forward, and some of these numbers we sort of use to show positive or negative impacts. So the base student allocation went up $85. Originally within the first House report, that number was about 50. So by the time we got through special session, we were able to increase that number to 85, which was $35 more than what was originally proposed. That should help us. It's a 1.58% increase, and so we should be able to work a little bit with that. It's not a large increase, but it is an increase nonetheless. Safe Schools at $290 million. Unfortunately, this has stayed level funded for the last several years. As you well know, this gives you the ability to provide different opportunities of safety within school, and this is why the board is a board, so you can make some of these special decisions to make sure you keep students safe. The ESE guaranteed allocation went up by $94 million. And once again, that is, ESE guaranteed allocation is our special needs, special ed coursework and classes. That went up by 6.7%. The mental health allocation, which has been around for about 10 years and has gone up almost every year, except for these last 2 years. So safe schools and mental health allocation has stayed level funded. Both very important issues the state has pushed forward, but for whatever reason, over the last 2 years, we've maintained level. It's nice that it has not gone down or disappeared, but if we believe that these two issues are compounding the safety and the instruction of our students, we would hope that the state would take more opportunity to fund that in the future. Total funding went up 2.5%. Now, before the Iranian war, we were basically, inflation was about 2.7. Now, after we've stepped into this conflict, inflation is around 3-ish%. And that doesn't even take into account for diesel prices and other costs that will go up based on the new world that is going on as we speak, day in and day out. And so, unfortunately, we did not receive enough money to equal inflation, but ultimately, we did receive a little bit more dollars, and hopefully, we will be able to maintain the wonderful services that we have provided our community.
But the majority of the increase is in the ESC and not what most likely would be impacted by those inflationary effects under base student allocation in safe schools.
Well, at the end of the day, yes. I mean, level funding, those services should not be impacted, but ultimately, as gas prices go up, diesel prices go up, we will have to make decisions. Do we transport the children to school to make sure they get there safely, or do we make other decisions? And
Right.
ultimately, I believe most of the time we will err on the side of safety and make sure those children are getting to school safely so that we can educate them. But at the end of the day, the state provided us just enough to keep us running, and hopefully, as the policies change and as we move forward through having the voucher opportunity for multiple years and it's settling a little bit, some of these dollars, hopefully as we move forward, will align properly. There are some legal actions out there relative to some of these things, and we don't know how they will end up coming to a fruition, but right now, we are, the increases were small.
And they still have not addressed the unbalanced, I guess, monies in the voucher system where when students maybe start in the homeschool or private school environment and they come to a public education institution, there is a gap in that funding. And my understanding is this last legislative session, they haven't fully still resolved that.
No, and there was a bill out there through the Senate from former President Gates to actually sort of align the scholarship funding and situation. Let's call it a situation. Unfortunately, that bill did not pass. The House, who was in control of the budget, wanted to maintain scholarships below the line. And so, or above the line, I always, you know.
Yeah, above the line.
And what that does is exactly what you're stating. It hides the discrepancy between what is going on this side and what is truly going on in the public
So they're
side.
supporting essentially a lack of transparency and mismanagement of funds. What is the thinking behind that? What is
The Senate's
benefit?
thinking,
This
which
is taxpayer money that is not being
Correct.
accounted for correctly.
the Senate's thinking, in my eyes, was let's get this in order and let's get some accountability wrapped around the program. Not that there's not accountability right now, it's just we could tighten this up a little bit better and make sure that we do not have issues as we move forward. The House believes, and this has been a belief since the beginning of choice from charter schools and choice from other opportunities, that parents, regardless of where they are the best determinant of what is best for their child, and that's the answer. And so a parent makes a choice on their child, their choice is better for their child than than commercially. So-
Right, but there are two things here at play,
You're
which you
absolutely
know,
right.
and I think needs to be understood, is that, first of all, that is not choice of their individual dollars. This is taxpayer money, and so it should be accounted for properly. And second, when they're making those choices, it should be informed choices, whereas many of the alternative options do not have the same reporting or transparency or financial openness that a public school does, and even performance data, right?
I agree with you
So-
100%, and as a taxpayer, I wish that the Senate bill was passed and moved forward and agreed to by both the House and Senate and signed by the governor. I'm a fiscal frugal Republican, and I like to see that my dollars are being used in the way that I believe that they should be. As a taxpayer, I can come to a Flagler School Board meeting and live in Volusia County and complain with the agenda item right before I stood up, and I can go to 67 counties and have that availability. I could be pro or I can be against. Right now, as a taxpayer, I cannot walk into a private school because I am trespassing. Even though my tax dollars are going there, the state looks at me as a problem. And so I agree with you that the state should have made changes. As a taxpayer, I would have preferred that. Do I agree with the way we've created choice? That is a different conversation altogether, because I also do believe parents are the best determinant of their children. But I believe the state has made a mistake by not working forward and moving towards the Senate's accountability within this program. Unfortunately, fortunately, this program will not change, will not go away. But providing accountability in this program as we move forward, and hopefully with the next leadership, because once again, as a fiscal frugal Republican, I want to see how my dollars are being interacted, and I might not agree with how you have chosen, but I can come to you as an elected official and show my distrust, or my praise that you guys did a fantastic job on, utilizing my tax dollars or the tax dollars of the state in this way.
All right, let's stay on the presentation, then we can have discussion after.
Total funds, once again, increased $150, $150.31, and so unweighted FTE, once again, shows you very small increase, and we will work towards making this stuff better. Loss of students, the various choice programs has made this budget going forward challenging. As average district losses statewide is 1.5% in weighted, and only 1.6 in average unweighted FTE. Funding the vouchers above the line, the conversation we were having a second ago, is what confuses or what makes this confusing to the public, and it makes it hard for us as experts in this arena to explain. No increases to safe schools and to mental health. 2 years in a row is something that we should make sure that we push for in the future. The FRS decrease will provide a little bit of money in the district's hands, but it is a rate change, and so it is a 1 year, $70 million. The classroom, a lot of the money, the new money that is out there will have to be used in the new Classrooms for Teachers program. So 10 years, teachers 10 years and over, and up to $3,000. I think you guys have already done some work to figure out how to make that policy work. But that's where most of the new dollars in this budget will go, is to that funding policy. And then in the back of the budget, because of enrollment decreases, we did receive about $144,000 to make up for those students making other choices and us having to fund families coming in to start the school. Property tax reform. Wasn't our first special session, it wasn't even our second, it was like special session G, I think, our property tax. And this expanded homestead exemptions. The nice thing, we were able to, through some work, and there was some work, to make sure that schools were held harmless, and you are allowed to continue the way we request for fiscal opportunities statewide. So there will be no direct impact to the district's budget because of special session F, and special was the budget session. And so, however, and this is something we sort of broached a little bit earlier, but The one thing that we're gonna have to do from a district standpoint over the next really 18 months is determine what are interlocal agreements, who's paying for what, and try to make sure that we get to a stage that services are not lost and that we are able to maintain the continuity of services that we have been able to do with our partners, with our cities and county. It's gonna be some work, and we're gonna have to make sure that we do that before we know that the issue passes or fails. Flagler's local budget impact. I mean, once again, the statewide increase was about 1.64, and the unweighted was about 1.65. The 2.2 million increase in total funding for district charters. Most of that money will be spent on the teacher salary requirements. Still, the district saves a little bit of money on the FRS, and once again, the back of the budget, we had it at $144,000. We can go to the next slide. Oh, that's why my papers got mixed up. Thank you for sticking with me. Now, some major impacted bills. I'm not going to go through all these issues, and if we have some questions, I will quickly try to answer, or we could do a little email and back and forth, and we can get you specifics. But you know, suits against the government, big bill, changing how much impact it is on suits against the government. That changed from 250 to 300,000 and 300 to 500. The school board bill of rights. Once again, this is a way that you all saw the ability to interact with our legislators. The senator was a prime sponsor of that bill in the Senate. He did take our issues in. Some of them he accepted, and some of them I think they would have accepted, except for some of the tenor around the bill became a little contentious at home. I say at home, but you know, with the counties just south of us. And so we appreciate the work that he did, because Bob and I could see a lot of, you know, it's nice to see when you can compromise and work with folks across the aisle. It's always a great opportunity. Other big bills that are out there, the athletics in public schools, the graduation requires extracurricular activities. You can see in the past I've come here with 100 bills, right? This year we've had a little bit less of legislation, and so on one side I will say it will be a little bit easier from that standpoint. We do need to look at the fact that 1279 is like a major train bill, and it has a lot of information in that, so staff will have to take a look at that. A lot of it's higher ed stuff, but we will need to make sure that we capture everything in that bill. From policy issues that we tried to work with the legislature, a small portion of the Rural Renaissance Bill was passed, and the Northeast Florida Education Consortium will receive much more money than they have in the past, and a lot of those things will come back down through their membership districts. There'll be some time for those conversations to be had, and we're really in an infancy, because everything in a lot of ways was done at the chair level, and so Bob and I are still going through each line to see how they broke things out. There are certain things in the Rural Renaissance that was funded, but it wasn't funded with a Rural Renaissance tag to it, and so we're still trying to see where those things have fallen. But the fact of the matter is that we will receive a little bit of dollars from that opportunity, and we appreciate the Senate for pushing that. The other issue was restoring the $144,000 of students who did not show up at the beginning of this year, and we appreciate the Senate making sure that the House fulfilled that opportunity. And then I'll leave it there with questions. I know I took a little longer than I normally would have, and I really appreciate the opportunity to represent you guys and work in Tallahassee for the betterment of the community, the superintendent, and the school board. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question. We also had some additional requests besides the Rural Renaissance. That was the funding of EPK. Can you tell us what were the lobbying and efforts that you all did, and what were some of the conversations and or temperature of the room in terms of what would it take to make that a reality?
I mean, the temperature of the room is that voluntary pre-K is a very necessary and important process of the state's education opportunities. I mean, we work with pre-K, I mean, we work with the members of staff, mostly committee staff, to work through these issues. Unfortunately, both our senator and our representative are not on these committees. So the work that we have to do is through other members, trying to align ourselves with folks who think the same way we do and work with some of their legislators. So work with some Miami folks who believe in the same stuff. Unfortunately, you know, there were some minor changes, and honestly, I don't have specifics for you, because at a certain point, the issue was moving forward at the level it was, and so I just have no more specifics to give you on that respect.
So if you could follow up on some of those items that you said that looks like there were some changes, that would be helpful. Can you share which ones of these particular bills do you think would have the largest impact to our budget, essentially? Which ones would you recommend that might need a little bit more strategy to implement?
I mean, definitely 1279, because it is
It's
a train
complex,
bill. I
right? They
mean,
basically put a
most-
bunch into one thing.
Absolutely. But most of these bills are in some level, single issue. I mean, so like the epilepsy bill, I mean, that is going to be easier to implement, right? We've done some of these medical opportunities. So we rely on some of that past information and we move forward. Extracurricular activities. I mean, it's a thing that you're gonna have to look at and see how you would like to maybe move forward. I mean, that bill has some of the payment of coaches in it. That is a policy issue that you might have to determine or choose or allow your boosters to do. There's work to do there. Is it important work? It is. Is it going to change the needle on children reading more, or, you know, maybe
So
not?
to paraphrase, they're basically requiring us to pay coaches more, but that, or
It gives
the,
you the option, ability, and allows boosters
To
and
supplement
foundations
that.
to supplement. Doesn't mandate that you do that. It allows them, it allows the coach or athletic director, I believe is still in the bill, to come to you and redesignate themselves and negotiate as a one-on-one. I don't know the legal, because once again, I only deal with the, you
Yeah.
know, the policy issues, and from that standpoint, you can do all that stuff now. Do you want to do that stuff? That is why we elect a five-member board here in Flagler, and you guys will make that determination along with the help of staff.
And
Do you have
policy will
to?
be, you will have policy, draft policy that's gonna be coming before
You
you
will-
to consider as to the direction the board wants to go related to that specific topic.
Now, you will have to create policy. Will you have to do anything more from that? That, once again, is up to how you guys want to. Now, offline, you and I can talk about that issue, and
Yeah, I
I will
just
give
wanted
you
to
my personal opinion,
understand the
because,
final.
because I don't love that issue. Because I honestly want, I believe that in school, we should be moving the needle of the education, character, and opportunity. And I'm not sure, I know coaches provide a lot of that, but they're only working with those 22, 25, 50 kids. I like coaches who teach and also coach, but that's just John Sarah's personal opinion. But those are things that you're gonna have to discuss, move forward, and figure out how you would like to do. The Teddy Bridgewater bill, once again, we passed a whole bunch of bills in a lot of respects that will not take much work. The Teddy Bridgewater bill will allow coaches to up to $15,000 spend some of their own personal money. Now, you might have given them some more money as a pay, you know, coach pay, right? But not something I think the state needed to do, but we did, and so it's out there. The school counselors bill, you're gonna have to do some policy on that, because you might mandate that the folks have that education component, or you might realize that we can't hire folks, you're having trouble finding them, and we won't use that as a qualifier. We want to get the best social workers, we don't necessarily need them to know educate K-12, right? So the biggest one in a lot of respect would be 1279. The suits against the government is going to be an important bill, because potentially it raise costs.
our risk insurance, is that what you're saying?
Yep.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the biggest bill that was passed this year, unfortunately, is this train bill that has many different aspects. And I truly would love to say to you that I'm a complete expert in it, but honestly, there's so much higher ed and other things that I'm still trying to
So
pinpoint.
you'll give us some updates?
We will, and
specifically?
what we normally do as well, sometime this summer, Bob will do a workshop with staff, and that will be available, and we will go more in depth in some of these issues.
My final request is going into this next year. We spent a day with Seminole County Schools and their very robust CTE programs and career preparation programs. And they shared that beyond partners, a lot of that money they received through appropriations. And so I would like us to maybe figure out how did they do that, right? Especially under this new system of you have to contribute the 50%. And they've received appropriations as of last year where when you already have that program under your umbrella, that also is considered the 50%. You're asking maybe a supplement to improve that program or buy specific equipment or material for it. So I would like us to move in that direction so we can have a more robust career program here within our schools.
I agree with you, and we'd like to help you with
Thank
that
you.
as well. And if there's an opportunity to do that, we will work to see how Seminole County has done some of what they've done, and
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Mr. Ramirez, any questions?
I mean, I'm happy to see the ESE allocation. I guess I don't know, more of a question or comment, but like with safe schools and mental health, it's at a flat line again. Are other districts, are you seeing different concerns, how adjusting budget because for the second year in a row, and costs are obviously always going up for everything, but
Absolutely.
especially our SRDs, the safety and the cost of the technology that they need to utilize. However, we're not being provided more.
Right.
So I'm just curious what you're seeing or hearing, and how do we prepare for that? Because now if this is going to happen again, so that's my big concern,
Well,
what we need to fight for next year.
sure. And I work with school psychologists, so I'm always fighting for that one specific funding source, and we to answer your question on one side, just like every district, unfortunately, the first thing you look at is your age of your staff. So sometimes when these funds stay flatlined, if your staff is young, you're able to absorb some of these costs where a 30-year employee might cost you $80,000, but 2 new employees cost you $40 each, right? So now you get 2 employees for 1 because somebody retired. So when these costs stay, so some districts, based on how the age of their staff, absorb these in different ways. And some are able to increase because if staff is getting to the end of their career and retire, you have sometimes a 2-for-1 opportunity there. Our staff, I don't really know, honestly, I don't know the demographics of our staff here, but a lot of districts, that's usually how some of that occurs. Then you make determination of what is needed, right? What are the primary, what do the feds require us? What's the Department of Education require us? And then you make staffing requirements based on that. So yeah, some places have had to reduce school psychologists or reduce social workers based on, unfortunately, what they've done over the years and how funding has come through from the state. Sometimes you use general revenue to supplement those costs, where the safe schools might be a large funding format to do safe schools, but you still draw from other areas. We would like to see that go up so you do not have to draw from other areas, but unfortunately, that's what the state sometimes makes us do.
Sure.
Mr. Furry.
Okay, in regards to safe schools, yeah, it is disappointing to see that flat, but did you witness any conversation around this when it comes to how they allocate? It always appears that if you have a low crime, you get less. If you've got a higher crime, you get more, but we all have the same mandates, right? So has there been any discussion up there with any representative to address that?
I know that the association that works with our folks has been dealing with that specific issue. And I have heard conversations with folks in the hallways, but I have not been a part of those specifically. Those experts have been dealing with that because there are multiple issues, as you know. There's interlocal agreements, we have our own staffing and whatnot. And so, and as the state increases the needs that they lay back on our doorstep, we would prefer those to go up, the cost or the funding source to go up to meet those needs. Unfortunately, like I said, the state has determined to level fund and have us make other determination.
Did you witness any discussion in regards to the property tax reform that will be on the ballot, that if it passes, how safe schools would be impacted by that? Because it would be indirectly hit, because our interlocal agreements, you know, our county, our cities, they contribute. So therefore, we will, if they will have to prioritize as well, but if they prioritize to not fund an SRD.
No, you're absolutely right.
We have a big hole to fill.
The one place that Bob and I and the Small District Consortium were able to really champion you and us as a small rural district was maintaining that $250,000 minimum base level. The House was interested in either getting rid of that or taking it down to $50,000. And so maintaining that at a $250,000 level, we got no less than $250,000. And as that moved forward, more monies came into the district for those purposes. So that's one of the ways that we were able to, I mean, unfortunately, when we go to special session and the work is not necessarily done in the 60 days, like imagine 180 days of school and somehow we tell parents they have to come for 182 to come test, right? Unfortunately, when you stop and restart, you're not necessarily in the same momentum that you were in, right? And so not only do we have to throw ourselves in the middle of conversations that folks have been having behind closed doors for a while, we have to not educate quite quickly and make sure that they understand it. So that was one of the issues that we were able to make sure that at least at a minimum level that we got $250,000 instead of much less, and then dealing with the incident levels to fund the rest.
Well, I'm just hopeful that if in fact the tax relief passes, the constitutional amendment test of 60%, that going into next year, that Safe Schools is part of that conversation to help us fill that gap, because they're still going to mandate us to have these, and rightly so, but we also need the funds to pay for it.
And then that's why I mentioned as really one of my biggest things. It's nice that they held us harmless. It's nice that we're not going to necessarily have any specific impact going into next school year. But we need over the next 18 months really lock in and find where those dollars are come from, and also educate our folks. Unfortunately, if that's going away, it's going away because we made a choice to change property tax. And the more information we can give people moving forward on, unfortunately, if it's a loss of services, why the services were lost, and maybe it wasn't that we would like to lose those services, but you want us to make other choices, and as a good school board, you guys have made good choices.
Right, and again, this is one of those areas where we don't have the choice to lose them. We have to provide them. So that's my biggest issue with this here.
I understand
is that there are other things. You can cut a program, but we have to have these school resource deputies, and no one. I'll speak for myself. I don't want them to go away either.
Correct.
But it's not one of those things where you can just say, well, we don't have the money for it, so we're not going to do it.
No, and that's an area, you're absolutely 100% right. There will be, unfortunately, other places where they will dip in the one side and take away, and I'm going to use the swimming pool because I like to use the swimming pool, but no more swimming pool. We need resource officers, right? And I hate to use that as an opportunity. Usually every time I come to the board meeting, we talk about the pool. This is the first time I've shown up and there's no pool talk, at least that I know of. And so I wanted to add some pool talk just since I was here.
And actually, we're at a double disadvantage because already at Safe Schools being 0% increase, we have to absorb the increases in the SRD's salary that is determined through the sheriff's office, not us, in addition to the increase in their insurance contributions.
Absolutely.
Because we do not have a contract that aligns the increase in our contribution with the increase that we're provided for safe schools.
And I think to both of your points, Mr. Furry and Ms. Ruddy, the reality of it is right now, we can only afford to have resource deputies in our schools because we have a community through our county commissioners and the city of Palm Coast that aid us heavily in doing that. And so as we talk about property taxes and them having to make different decisions, you know, we're going to have to look as a community back into what are our values and what are the things that are our core responsibilities to fund. And so though we know that schools are excluded in that way, schools are not excluded from the supports and services that are provided through our community,
Absolutely.
through our county commissioner specifically.
And this is the type of decision where it can look on the surface, we're receiving the same funds, but we would have to cut a program in order to pay for required expenses we have to carry.
Absolutely.
Just something I wanted to touch on is as we go into the next session, hopefully advocating with our legislatures to increase the base student allocation and get more FEFP. Of course, teacher salaries, it's a conversation right now, and I think a lot of people don't realize it's not in our hands. It comes from the state. So, you know, Florida has a surplus, so that's just something I'd like to see in the future that hopefully we can advocate for.
And both Bob and I agree with you. One of the main things, I mean, the base student allocation is the easiest way to explain to people the increases and opportunities that you have as a board member. Like you, when you come home and you look at your paycheck after you've taken everything out, you sort of have an idea of what their extra change is. And unfortunately, the state has only been giving us extra change. In a lot of respects, they've been making us make decisions with historic funding. This historic funding is going, but it's not coming necessarily to where me as a taxpayer has an ability to talk to you as the elected official. There's a lot of monies that are going in other places, and over the last 2 years, we would have seen those increases if the state choice opportunity did not change. But with the fact that our communities have chosen that they believe that their children should have every opportunity to go to any scholastic school out there, we're going to have to tread water and get to a certain stage that we are able to have this level out and then be able to, once again, build our story from there. We are in a situation right now that choice is the better option, even though we are the largest choice of the majority of the parents statewide come to public school. And I guarantee you that's the same thing in Flagler County. The majority of your parents, your students, if they like it or not, they chose you. And you should be proud of that and you should thank them for that. But the fact is there are small groups of people who make other choices, and unfortunately the state has allowed this and has proffered this to give more parents more opportunities. I agree with giving parents opportunities. I don't agree how we've chose to fund them.
Any other conversation? All right, thank you, Mr. Sarah. Good to see you.
Thank you very
Yes,
much. I
thank
appreciate
you.
you guys having me.
Thank you, Bob.
Hi, Bob.
Thank you, guys.
All right, moving on to finance consent, 7.01.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, board members, and Superintendent Moore. Mrs. Bush and I are here to answer any questions you have on finance consent, beginning with 7.01, charter school financials. I will just make note before any questions on this one. I did reach out to their regional finance director as when getting their financials for April, there were more overages that were pointed out last year in the last 4 or 5 pages. And he did let me know that they're having software glitches with their budget software that is causing extra cost in the fringe budget data. Their board has been made aware of this, and it will be adjusted in the summer to match final year end numbers. As our board docs is about 2 months behind, you'll continue to see these overages for the next 2 months until theirs is adjusted in the summer.
Do they For what program are they using? Because I feel like I've heard this a few times, like glitches, is that, do they need?
I'm not sure what
is it-
program they're using, but this 25-26 is a new program for them. They ran parallel last year, and then they switched this year.
Okay, and then maybe the prior program had, I just remember hearing they've had glitches several times, but.
All right, any questions on Imagine Charter School? Going on to purchase orders over 10,000.
Can you share, or a representative share, a little bit about the hand-to-mind resources that are being purchased? I don't recall that as being part of the curriculum pieces. Is this, it looks to me like a supplement for VPK.
That is teaching and learning. It's on page 4.
Yes, page 4.
I'll see if Dr. O'Brien can speak to that, or if not, she'll be able to get your response.
Thanks so much.
It is being supplemented in VPK through our CLSD grant as a supplemental resource in our VPK program.
We had an additional $1 million allocation in that grant as it extended, so we purchased some resources with it. I can give you more information on it.
No, I'm happy to see that. When I visited Pinnell VPK, they were talking about some additional resources for supporting some of the different strategies they want to use. So hopefully that will fulfill that need. That's
Yeah,
exciting.
and all of that came out of that grant,
Great.
the CLSD grant.
Any other questions on purchases over 10,000? Okay, 7.03 vendor payments.
I'm pulling up the line item, but there was a payment for, looked like construction, let me get the number. And I just wanted to get an indication of what specifically that was around. What project that is for and how that's, how their services are being provided. One second here.
Is it the Charles Perry?
Yes,
Partners?
thank you, Charles Berry.
Yeah, it's like 66,159 construction project.
66,000?
66159.
It's on page
That's to replace.
10.
That's to replace AC equipment at the MHS Building 11. Mr. Bush can answer any direct questions about that project.
Okay, so replace HVAC equipment, was this part of the 5-year plan, or is this an item where there's a malfunction and had to be replaced?
You said it was building 11? That was the building that we then had issues with the HVAC system out there where when we did the addition, we did run chilled water lines for future to be able to change that over. We had to ramp that up a little bit because there was some issues with the air conditioning, the fresh air unit. So we took the opportunity, since we were finishing that up, to add air to that.
Is that related to the air situation that was happening in the
Locker room?
locker
That's the
rooms?
same.
Okay, perfect.
Yes, ma'am, same
Great.
project.
Okay, thank you. I'm glad they'll have some relief out there.
Yes.
During the heat. Thank you.
I did have one question on an item here. It's on page 1, and it was Barbizon Charlotte,
Barbizon.
Barbizon. The 43,137 and 16,381.
That is for the FPC school audio system upgrade, and Mr. Deasing can answer any direct questions on
I
that.
think there's 2 payments, and there's, I think, 3 or 4 different projects that were tied to it. So Barbizon is a company out of Orlando. They hold a couple of state contracts, so we were able to work with them on fixing some of the audio systems in gymnasiums, some of the multi-purpose rooms. So that's what those projects were, but there was multiple projects there.
Under that, those two dollar amounts, there were multiple projects within those?
Yes.
43,000 and 16,000?
I'd have to go back and look what the specific ones are, because that's the vendor payment side of it. But yes, there's a few.
Okay. So what were these improvements exactly? Speakers or?
All across the board. Some of it included wiring, where there was some old wiring that was causing issues. Some of it is new speakers. Some of it is amplifiers. Some of it is some secured Bluetooth to make it a little bit easier for our folks to kind of manage some of those spaces. So it's kind of I don't want to say a piecemeal, but it's upgrading some of the older systems within the district. So we've got multiple projects going through. There's another vendor that we use as well. But those particular projects lend themselves well to the contract that Barbizon currently holds with the state.
Gotcha. And are some of those systems, things that just aged out, these, some of the components that you were talking there?
Yeah, sometimes they're just getting, get old. Amplifiers are good for a certain amount of time, with power issues sometimes impact some of the stuff. Some of the work that was done is at Flagler High School in their gymnasium. They had some issues with some power fluctuation issues or lightning along those lines. So that system's kind of been piecemealed along the way a few different times as we had to repair. So this kind of gave us the opportunity to bring in an audio consultant that was able to work through that contract and then make some recommendations to us on what would fulfill the needs for the school. I don't know if you'd seen, but some of these, we had speakers that were not working properly, they weren't tuned correctly, and sometimes when you fill those rooms up, it's very difficult to even hear audio, let alone, announcements, announcing games and things within them. So.
Okay, so these investments should give us many years for this investment? Like this?
Oh yeah, I would say several. Most of this stuff is over 10 years old before we're
that's what I was
touching
getting at. I wanted to see how old what we were replacing. I mean, I know in electronics, actually getting 10 years out of a speaker or an amplifier, that's pretty good.
One of the long-term goals you'll see along the way is
okay.
we're trying to move everything to digital. Some of these are still on analog.
Right.
And moving into digital, we can set parameters within the system because there's a lot of different folks that use these. We don't always have an engineer or an audio person there to run these systems within the schools.
Right.
So moving these over to digital will give us an opportunity to protect the equipment because anything analog you can accidentally shove the volume all the way up and you have potential to damage the speakers, damage the amplifiers, those types of things.
Very good. Thank you for that clarification.
I have one more question. On page 20, this might relate to you, Mr. Deasing, the blast-off tutoring.
Which one is that?
My question is, we
okay,
have varsity tutoring and come
it's
and
not,
go.
it's the company is called Blast Off Tutoring.
That we're paying through?
What that
Okay.
software actually is some software that we're utilizing with our website and forward-facing information related to ADA compliance.
Oh, okay.
So it's able to kind of work through and identify, we can load documents into it, and it gives us feedback, and some of the situations can actually update those documents so that when we are posting them publicly available, that it gives feedback and or make adjustments to those documents to ensure that it's the ADA compliance. And so,
Like meeting WCAG accessibility
absolutely,
requirements.
yes, all of those,
So,
all under the whole umbrella.
I guess my question on that is it because it contains secure information? Because a lot of that could be done through some of the agentic AI tools at no cost.
Some of it, I think the nice part or the piece that is attractive to this is that we are able to roster those individuals, so our staff, and when we've got those set up, it will constantly scan as well through our website. And
So it
identify
also
issues.
monitors it?
Yes.
Okay, and triggers it as opposed to just, hey, I need to create this document, take a look at it. As WCG guidelines
Yeah.
change, it will trigger things and then you can fix them. So
Yeah,
that's really the
and
value.
I think the
add.
reason that this works is because we have a lot of different folks within the district that are uploading and updating
Mm-hmm.
information that is publicly available, whether through the web or even some of our newsletters and things that schools are putting out. It gives them the opportunity to kind of push it through there and then gives them real direct feedback because, as you know, getting up to speed with what it means to be compliance down to, hey, these are the colors that you can and
Right.
can't use, these are the contrast levels
Yeah.
that you can and can't use, this is the correct header,
Header,
footer.
format, yeah.
Yeah, so,
Mm-hmm.
you know, we've done a lot of training with that over the course of the last couple of years based off of some of the things that we've ran into. But this really is a user-friendly opportunity to do that. Will I say that, you know, as other things come about, absolutely, we're continuing to look at those. This is not a multi-year contract
And
with
that's
this
the price
particular
just for
venue.
1 year?
That is a one-year
Okay.
contract,
Okay.
yes.
Thank you.
So when looking at it, the potential exposure and the amount of training and things to look at, so, you know, it's around, what, $1,000, $1,100 a month, give or take. It just, that made sense to us as a expense.
Thank you, yeah.
Okay, any others? 7.04 finance budget amendments. All right, we'll go on to 7.05, district financial statements.
So this was as of April, you know, and we're almost 2 months from this. But one of the things that I had noticed is kind of the year-over-year changes on page 2, where it kind of gave the picture of where were we in comparison to previous years. And it looked to me that we had larger overages this year in October, November, particularly as compared to previous years.
Are you looking at the last section?
The page.
I mean, page 2.
It's page 2, Flagler County School District Monthly Change in Operations Comparison General Fund.
Yes, yes, that is
And
correct.
just get your takeaways on that.
Sure. The overages tend to increase last year and this year because of the loss of all the grant funds.
Okay.
So in previous years, we were able to funnel what would normally be a general fund cost into grant funds, and now you're
Mhm.
seeing the reality of those grant funds being completely gone.
Okay, but we're still continuing those expenditures.
Yes,
under those.
absolutely.
Okay, and
I
so
mean,
what type of grant funds would
Some
have
of them.
expired that we still are carrying costs from? Do we have kind of a summary of what those might be?
I mean, we've gone through it in a previous board meeting, I'd have to look, but all of the ESSER funds paid for all of our textbooks every year, paid for some staff. We didn't keep all the staff, but the ESSER funds paid for a lot of stuff that we were able to shift from general to those funds. And then when those funds went away, the costs such as textbooks, which is a large one, has to come out of general
Right,
fund.
but ESSER funds were always temporary to overcome the challenges of learning during and after, you know, the pandemic. So what we're seeing is a return to normalization to where that money is normally coming out of. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we were fortunate, and if you go back and look at the fund balances from those years, that's how we were able to build the general fund balance,
Mhm.
because we didn't have to absorb those costs in the general fund.
Mhm.
So now we're kind of getting back to
A little
normalization,
bit
which
more.
is a
So
little,
if we were to look before 2020, it would be more in line with what we're seeing this year?
I would
have
have
you
to,
done-
I would have to look before
I
I
would love to
analyze
just
that.
double check that to see that we're not seeing a bulge of something that maybe is anomalous.
Sure.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay,
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Bob.
Thank you, Ms. Bush. Thank you. All right, academic services, 9.01, Mr. Walker.
Good afternoon, Chair, school board members, Superintendent Moore. This afternoon, you have 3 articulation agreements in front of you from UNF, WCU, which is West Coast University, and Grand Canyon University. You will notice with 9.01, this was a previous agreement. However, talking with legal counsel, they had a material change that came up after the fact, so that's before you for 9.01. And then 9.02 and 9.03 are standard agreements expanding our higher education partnerships and talent pipeline. This is what allows us to have students from those colleges do their internships with Flagler schools.
With regard to 9.01, it says the material change has been with regard to sexual orientation in provision 9. Can you narrow that down a little bit in terms of what letter under provision 9? Like what's the context around that change?
I'm going to go ahead and ask if Mr. Smith could join me up here on the at the table for that one, because this was something that was going back and forth.
Is it non-discrimination?
That's what I was thinking.
We were looking at the sexual orientation update regarding the UNF one.
Okay.
This was one that had gone back from them, and we just need to find where it came out of.
Oh, the language on it.
Yep.
Yeah, sure. That's gonna take me seconds.
It said it was under provision 9, miscellaneous.
Should discriminate against any person based on age, race, color, religion, gender, national origin. While we're reviewing that, we'll pull up the last one that was approved or reviewed back in April. Correct. So when you look under 9 and F, when you look at the agreement that was brought forward to you in April, it states during this agreement, neither party shall discriminate against any person on the basis of age, race, color, religion, gender, sexual orientation, national or ethnic origin, disability or veteran or marital status. So this agreement struck through the update with sexual orientation.
So I guess that's confusing to me because is sexual orientation a protected class? Why would they remove that from the non-discrimination portion?
And I had a similar question with that. And Mr. Delaney, I sent you an email, so it kind of goes with this. And so I'll wait for you, Ms. Ruddy, and then I'll add it. Because it looks like they had an update internally at their university.
Right.
So they removed that wording in their policies, but I guess.
So why is it affecting our MOU, which I thought was our template?
But then there's a part, and that's where Mr. Delaney, I reached out, but I'm wondering, like, for legal concerns, for us as a district, would it impact our ability to enforce our own policies? But in this contract, and I just want to make sure, because in this contract, it actually states that the Flagler schools, so Flagler schools overrides, so our policies would override. So even though it doesn't state that in their contract anymore, are we still covered with our policies? So that's
I see what you're saying. Right, how does it?
So it appears that we still override no matter what. If a student were to do something with a teacher of, an intern while they're serving in our schools, but our district policies override what their contract states. That's my interpretation. So if that is correct, then it wouldn't matter if they removed that wording or not. But if it's not correct, then I'm wondering if we could be liable.
I apologize for my delay.
No worries.
There's no sound on Mr. Delaney. I think he's trying to talk.
I apologize for my delay. I was looking through the email communications that I had with them to
Sure.
try to figure out, what their
No
reasoning
worries.
for it was. It's policy-based. They didn't cite to any statutes or change statutorily or a rule or administrative rule. So it's really something that they requested.
I also thought in previous discussions, the MOUs we were using were the templates that were updated that we created. So is it that they chose to remove that piece from our MOU? They've made that request.
A lot of times they provide the language to us, and then we modify it to ensure that we're protecting the students, mainly the safety and the privacy of the students and the educational record. That's like a primary concern, and then there's 3 or 4 other minor concerns that when I go through, or I don't want to say minor, but just lesser concerns, that when I go through, I'm checking to make sure that it's got those things, but a lot of times we work within their format. That's why a lot of the MOUs they see, sometimes they'll ask us to construct an MOU, and I'm happy to do that. I prefer it, but a lot of times we work within their template.
Okay. And so with regard to the first question, is sexual orientation a protected class?
I'm going to ask you to defer to your general counsel for the board for that general question.
Mr. Delaney?
Because it's in the other universities' contracts, but it's
Mhm.
not in this one.
Because they're specifically requesting it removed.
This is the first request that I've gotten for that.
But if you look at section, so Mr. Delaney, if you look at section 3.
If we could just pause for one moment, because they're trying to make sure his sound is coming through.
Well, there, okay, turn it up.
Wait, we can't, hey, can you pause him for a minute?
Hold on one second.
He can hear us. He can hear us. So he's fine.
We just can't hear him very well.
So I would imagine when he comes on, he's going to talk about the negotiation between the federal standard and the state leanings.
But federal would always supersede state.
I'm aware of the federal supremacy clause, yes.
Okay.
So
But let's just give him a moment so that he can
Yeah, in that
answer the
sense, I
question.
While we're waiting, I'd also offer that just because it's not in there doesn't mean now you can do it. In
Right,
other
but they
words-
made a point of it, and that's concerning, and it doesn't align with our policies. And so I guess my other question while we wait is if we were to push back to say that, no, that needs to be in there, how would that affect our, the business that we want to do with this organization?
And Ms. Ruddy, if you look at.
Let's take a recess and we'll come back to this.
Okay, thank you.
5 minutes.
It's good. Oh, do we have it?
Well, I'm gonna use the restroom.
Okay.
3 minutes, yeah.
Are we ready? We have sound? Okay.
Yes.
All right, Mr. Delaney.
Okay, thank you. So a couple of questions have been asked in regard to Ms. Ramirez's. I do believe that this contract permits the school board to enforce its human resources policy, its internal policies, and I think those would be preeminent and continue to operate. There was also, secondly, a question raised about what is the status of sexual orientation as a protected class. Florida has, the main Florida Civil Rights statute is Florida Statute 760.01, and some sections after that, they go through 760.11. It's generally referred to as the Florida Civil Rights Act of 1992. That covers various categories, including sex, but it does not specifically identify sexual orientation. However, as it was mentioned, federal law preempts state law. State law can be broader and more protective than federal law, but it can't run counter to federal law. And the term sex on the federal level has been interpreted to include protection in things like marriage and housing and employment to protect sexual orientation, but not necessarily in every single circumstance and at all times. I'm thinking of things like certain businesses and whether they have to agree to cater a wedding where two people of the same sex are getting married. So there are protections on the federal level that would apply in Florida, but they are not comprehensive in all circumstances to sexual orientation.
Would UNF understand that a school board's policy supersedes this MOU?
Yes.
So this is, I guess, what is the point of then removing it for them?
They're the ones removing it, right? They're asking to remove it.
Yes.
They are. It would only be speculation, which isn't worth much.
So they didn't provide any context when they...
They did not. I had a brief conversation through email. That's why I wanted to bring that up to make sure that I was accurate when I was talking
Right.
to you. But it didn't cover that part, and they didn't cite any authority. They just it probably has to do something with their board. Is my speculation.
I'm trying to find our policy. Does anybody know off this top?
We're looking at non-discrimination, access to equal educational opportunity. 2260 is non-discrimination and access to equal educational opportunity.
That was 22, what? I'm sorry.
2260.
So,
And it
I mean, we
go-
have the word sex, but we don't say sexual orientation.
We struck that. We did not have
Which
that
paragraph is that? First one.
So then it is in alignment with our policy, just saying sex.
No, they removed it altogether, didn't they? Or no?
Yeah, they
They said
so-
gender.
Gender is what they said,
Yeah.
yes. We do not have sexual orientation in our policy.
I mean, number one, there's no reason why we should discriminate against anybody, right? Number two, where do we draw the line? I mean, I could identify as Chinese, but that doesn't make me Chinese, right? Like, so, I mean, but I don't see an issue here making a big deal out of it. We shouldn't have discrimination anyway.
Yeah, I agree with you. We shouldn't have discrimination, but that's where things like this are required in order to support that and protect our students that may be participating in these, or former students that may be participating in these programs. And if it's a big enough deal for UNF to request that it's stricken, then it matters that much to them. But for me, in terms, the deal is, well, ensuring that we've got everything tightened up and that we're going with, making it clear in alignment with, as close as it can be in the brief language that's provided, the alignment to the federal protections, which also protects us and avoids confusion.
But this is their MOU, right?
For their interns to come to.
But an MOU
Well,
is an
let's say-
agreement between two
I
parties,
understand,
it's
but
our.
I wanted to know the original source of the language.
Yes, sir. The original draft came from them.
Okay, so they're asking to remove this from the original draft that they provided us. Our policy does not include sexual orientation in our discrimination clause, right? So then what is the argument here? I'm failing to understand why this is an issue. This is their language. They want that removed from their language that they provided us, and our policy does not extend to that specific term. So what are we doing?
That goes back to my original question, which was, I was under this understanding that our MOUs that we were using for these programs were our templates. And so this is and in fact, some of those MOUs were brought back to us because of the work that was done. So this is the first that I'm hearing we're using MOU language that came from UNF. I thought it was our kind of practice that we were providing the template language and that they had just chosen to strike something that was in our template. So what is in the other, let's say, MOU? Is there a comparable? I know we just had one recently, I believe, with, was it WGA or something like that? What is in that? I would find it that it would be difficult for us as well to be in agreements for similar services and programs with MOUs that have, shades of differences. And quite frankly, I find it unsavory that they would specifically hone in on this particular group or discrimination practice. And so, they made a big deal out of it. I'm going to inquire about it.
So what we use as our template is around our data privacy.
Okay.
That's what we have, that we use as our base for the privacy. The MOUs are, they are seeking out us for this, so they will start with their template, and then we will go in and make adjustments if it does not cover the items that we want to have included in any type of agreement that we are having.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can I get a copy of, let's say, 2 or 3 of the most recent MOUs that we've had with other organizations so I can decide how I may vote on this when time comes?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, any more discussion?
And I just wanted to clarify, so Mr. Delaney, so with this, because it's in their contract, so regardless if they have sexual orientation or not, they have the section 3H1, so the UNF agreement, it requires that all interns must comply with the policies and procedures of Flagler schools while in the program. So they have to comply with our policies according to their contract anyway. So is that the same understanding? So regardless of what it says, whatever our policy is, they have to abide by it if they're an intern at one of our campuses?
Correct. I think that's how this agreement operates.
Okay, so I feel, for me, that just that statement that's in their own contract, it covers everything, because for recruitment for teachers, counselors, so everything, we will supersede on their own contract.
Yeah, but there is no conflict here. Our policy does not have this in it. It's not like our policy had this and they're removing it on their end. It actually brings it more in alignment with our current policy.
Well, an example, if they say there was an intern and they did something for sexual orientation and someone wanted to, put a grievance on it or go further, and it's an intern, so they're at our campuses, so this would protect our campuses because we could follow our policy. So it's just basically, they took out sexual orientation, which is fine. They can take it out. It was in, they took it out. But just protecting if there's an intern that went against that. And
I just don't understand. This is their language. They're removing it from their language. There's no contradiction or issue from our policy side in this discussion. We don't have that language in our policies to begin with. All we're approving here is they want to remove that from the language they provided. We didn't provide that to them. So we're already, by actually removing that, it's more in alignment with what our discrimination policy states.
But it's in the other contracts for every other university that we've had. So that's me. So every other contract that I've been reading, so today you'll see it. It's in it, it's in it, it's in the other ones. It was in this one originally, and then it was removed.
We can't
So that's,
dictate.
but we're still covered regardless.
This is
So-
an agreement,
Yeah.
so it's not theirs. And that this is they may provide this language, they're asking for us, when we sign it, it becomes
Yeah, but
ours.
my point is,
So
if
what
we're
I'm
debating
saying
this-
is, my point is that, you know, if you have an agreement that differs from other organizations' agreements, that can cause confusion. And we have a situation that they are specifically removing it where we can say, no, this is our a belief, because it's
that would be-
different when students leave our campus or are underneath this isn't a, so part of when we are educating, we educate all children regardless of sexual orientation. That's part of what we are constitutionally required to do beyond the ethos of it. This is a different layer of relationship. It is not a student in our public schools. This is more akin to an employment relationship. And therefore, we should ensure that it's matching across the board, those
So-
other employment MOUs that we have with these organizations.
When we,
Remember-
can I please speak? When we go
Yes,
to a vote, I want a solution. What is it that y'all want to see? And then do we even have the votes? Because here we are again, there's 4 of us only.
Well, I don't believe we're supposed to share that before the vote.
We're here in
So-
we're in the sunshine right now, so we can
Okay,
talk.
so my concern is that they should return it, so it is consistent among our other MOUs, and that's the form that I would accept and vote a yes for. Under this format, where they're specifically removing that federally protected class, in conjunction with Mr. Delaney's statements of, I believe and I think so, that our policies would supersede this, does not fill me with confidence, and therefore I would rather see it within the document.
So we're going to provide to Ms. Ruddy the copies that she's asked for of the previous MOUs. This specific MOU is, the area that you are discussing is around the agreement that neither parties will discriminate against an individual based on these listed categories. And Ms. Ruddy, your request is that we go back and ask for sexual orientation to be added into that agreement, is what you would want to
Right, the
see happen
previously approved
going
version by this
forward.
board, yes.
Anything else that you
Yeah, but you know,
as a board
what
need?
what I don't understand is why we're debating this. Because you're just saying that is your unilateral request to change that. I don't have a problem with it being removed if that's what their board wanted, and it aligns with our existing policies, that our discrimination policy, if it was in conflict with our discrimination policies as a board, then I would say yes, then let's make this issue. I don't know why we're wasting board's time with this conversation when it doesn't create an issue or a problem. This is a memorandum of understanding is just that. It is between 2 parties. It has nothing to do with a memorandum of understanding with a different entity. They don't, we have other memorandums of understanding with other organizations that are not in the same language as this or the other one. So my point is that why are we going to go through all this over something that has no impact on the situation or the MOU?
So I very clearly stated my position, and why. And I'm sorry that you are unable to understand that. But in my view, the small things add up to large things. And if you're not willing to stand for something that doesn't align with your ethos, however small, then you're willing to be pushed over when the big things do come.
Okay. All right.
And I'll just add, just for the record, right, that remembering when it comes to non-discrimination, protected classes, not protected classes, any of those things, we can't discriminate. And
Right.
even if it's listed or not listed,
Exactly.
if it is in violation of federal and state and someone were to bring that claim against, then we would have to prove that we have not been in violation of any of those things. So if it's, whatever is listed, like if we just take out age, because age is one that we can all agree, and I think it's common that people know. Even if it's not listed there, we cannot discriminate against someone based on their age. And if we do, then someone will bring litigation against us regarding that. Okay?
All right. We'll
May I-
move on.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Real quick, may I just make a point of clarification? So we were saying it, and sometimes we were referencing sex or gender or sexual orientation. Just to be clear, and everybody might know this, but I just want to be sure, sexual orientation is not in every MOU that we have signed. We have a lot of MOUs where sexual orientation is not referenced.
Yeah, that's the point I was trying to make.
That particular phrase.
And I would like to see like what are the dates of those. And I guess what to me is, as I said before, it's particularly unsavory that it was approved, which went months and weeks to get to that level. And now they've specifically taken out, which rises to a level of concern. What happened, right? Why would they do that? Are our students going to be safe under this MOU?
Yes, okay. 9.02 with West Coast University.
So for 9.02, it's a new agreement. Specifically, this would be for speech language pathologists. Would be those who would be interning and working with us.
Any questions on this one? Then we have Grand Canyon University. Surprised we don't already have it, or is this just a renewal?
I think it's specific for speech language, and that's maybe why, because I do remember Grand Canyon from last year. I could be wrong.
One question for when they are utilizing our logos or, for marketing material, and I believe there's another program that did something similar. Would we be just verifying it prior to them putting it out there?
Yeah,
for
so
their
anytime
marketing?
they would be using our
I assume, but I just want to make sure,
branding.
yeah, so you guys just kind of check it
Yeah.
and say, oh, looks
And
good.
if for whatever reason, if we became aware of something, it's like, hey, that doesn't look quite right, we would talk to our partners to get it adjusted and in line with our expectations.
No, thank you.
Okay, we'll go on to 9.04 Advent Health Project Search MOU.
Thank you.
Thank you. O'Brien.
You can say. There we go. Good afternoon, Board Chair, Superintendent Moore. I am here on behalf of Dr. Holliday, who's representing us at CASE right now, the Council of Administrators of Special Education. So she is away doing that. We have 3 MOUs to come before you. You have seen all of these MOUs. These are just renewals. The first one is for Project Search with Advent Health Palm Coast, and this provides transition services and employment opportunities for our students who've deferred their diplomas who have disabilities. We've
How
had
the-
this in place since about
Mhm.
2018.
How have the outcomes been with this particular partner here in terms of those employment opportunities? Do we have any data on that? And is that comparable to expectations or the goals we were hoping for?
I would have to bring the data back to you, but I do know that we were just at the graduation. I do believe there was one employment from our particular graduation this year, but I'd have to look at do you mean particular employment with Advent Health following? Or or anywhere?
No, with under the limitations of the services within the MOU, my understanding, and again, legal counsel would probably help, that essentially they're are supposed to help prepare individuals for roles that they would qualify for. And so I'm looking for what is their overall success rate or percentage, and essentially, is this MOU serving the goals that we had hoped it would?
And we can get that data, but I'm going to say that the answer is definitely going to be yes once we see the specifics of the number of students that are successfully completing this program. I think Dr. O'Brien was asking because she wanted to make sure that you were not asking what was the rate of students that are getting employment specifically with Advent Health. You're just asking the completion for this program.
Well, if the goal of this MOU is that they are employed, those who are interested in these roles, because not every student is going to be interested, whether it's with Advent or someone else, are we attaining a level of placement? What is our goal? Are we saying 50%, 75%? What happens, right? What's the goal here? And it had looked in this MOU that they would provide some of that skills training. Are we satisfied with that skills training? How is that being evaluated?
We definitely can bring that back for project search and in general, that data.
And I was at the graduation, and it was pretty great. And I believe from talking to the kid or adults, young adults, they and then they had almost like a mentor that was working with them at Advent, but it was more of a pilot. So I would like to see. I'm sure they're coming up with something like, okay, I know there's only 12 that they're going to accept. One I know for sure in the room was already working, and he was thrilled. Like, it was pretty awesome. But knowing, I know, like, this could grow and get even bigger. Can they handle more than 12? Eventually, as we see that happening, and then goals I think would be good. But I know it was a pilot, so I feel like more is to come. But that would be nice to continue with this and the partnership, obviously. But it was great. So I was very pleased with that little celebration. It was good.
We definitely can bring the data back for this program and others like it.
Any other questions on
Atlas MOU?
All right, and so we're bringing this back to you for year 2. We currently partner with Atlas Academy to expand our continuum of ESE services. This allows us to place a student at Atlas Academy that has really complex needs that may need to be served outside of the public school setting. We do currently have one student placed at Atlas, and as a reminder, our FTE that we get for that student does cover the tuition. There is one exception to that, and that is if we need to add on additional behavior services, it might go above and beyond what we are reimbursed for that student, and we budget that through IDEA to cover those overages.
So their tuition at Atlas says it's $15,000.
Yeah.
Is that the same as it was last year, or was there an increase?
I believe that's the same as last year. Yeah.
Okay. And last year was the first year that we worked with this group, right? And so have we done any site visits, any feedback from that program, or from the students or parents guardians who were involved in that?
Yeah, our student has had good attendance. I know Dr. Halliday has visited. I have not had a site visit there, but we've had great communication back and forth, as we still maintain the burden of FAPE while a student is placed there. Right. So there's certainly communication through the IEP meetings and with Dr. Halliday.
Okay.
Yeah.
My last question is, it states that if we do not provide transportation, we can use their transportation, which is $1,800. That's per student, no matter if the number of students they pick up, like if they're centralized pickup, or?
That's a great question.
It's per student.
I would think it was per student.
It is.
If we start to see larger numbers, I would like to perhaps explore having a discount for additional students that can ride the same vehicle. If that makes sense.
We do still have parent drop-off for this, so we haven't incurred.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And you said we have one student there now. And see, and I know this program, it's not going to be, I mean, hopefully not used that often. And then with cost, I know it goes through. But the last one, I know there was a significant cost. And I know Dr. Halliday is not here, but if we, say we have more students, like 5 or 10, which, you know, I'm grateful that we have this facility because we don't have anything local. What happens though if the cost is not covered, like for that one student, it was a couple budget sheets ago that, I mean, it was about $50,000 because insurance, it was like an insurance thing. And so I'm just wondering, like, do we have a plan if we were to have multiple students and they had similar medical situations? How will we be able to budget for that? Do we have a plan?
So we would consider if that is a placement or a part of our continuum that we would need to offer here and what that would cost. And we are in that process right now. We do have a few students who may be able to benefit from that similar type of a placement, but it's how do we serve, in particular, those behavioral needs? Is that bringing on another behavior specialist that's trained in that specific area, a behavior analyst? And so we are having those discussions right now on what that would look like if we were to serve those students here.
Good. Yeah, thank you. No, that's good to have just a plan because, you know, and I'm grateful that we have something. And hopefully we don't have to use it too often, but if we have it, I just want to make sure we're ready for the potential costs.
Yeah.
Well, to clarify, we do have an EBD program.
Yeah.
Already.
Yes.
These are for students who are going to that.
Beyond that.
Beyond
Yeah,
that
so if
level.
we happen to have more students that are not a good fit for our
Right.
EBD program.
What threshold do we hit before we say we need to build this in-house? Right.
Yeah, just because the last student, I mean, it was pretty significant, the cost, but I also want them to be taken care of. So I just want to make sure we have a plan, and so thank you. It sounds like you are working on that, so appreciate it. That was my only question.
Yeah, good question.
All right, 9.06 UF.
Okay, so this is another continuing MOU, partnership with the University of Florida and Fiddlers, and they are providing comprehensive evaluations for us in the place of psychologists. This particular MOU has afforded us 2 comprehensive evaluations per month over this past year for our most involved pre-K ESE students.
It sounds too good to be true, to be honest, and so, which I'm very excited about. Do we have any idea how many, like numbers, so they've done 2, so could they potentially?
They do 2, they've done
They
2
will do
per
2
month.
per month.
That's the kind of the schedule or the cadence
Okay.
that we have set up with this right now that they're able to offer at no cost.
That's great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, any others? Thank you, Dr.
Thank you.
Ryan. Mr. Smith.
Thank you.
10.01, Human Resources, approval of updated Florida School Retiree Benefit Consortium Agreement with Mr. Walker.
Good afternoon, Board. So in front of you today is a continuation with some slight adjustments for the Florida School Retiree Benefits Consortium. We refer to as the FSRBC. Essentially what this is this is the organization that we partner with for our retirees who hit the age of 65 and over. They have information that they then are able to give them options for Medicare supplement plans, dental, vision, at either at the same level or better than what they had as active employees. So you'll see the adjustments that they have sent to us is in regards to the makeup of their board, as well as an inclusion regarding social security number information. Just like we do with our current medical carriers, vision, dental, and medical, they have access to those forms or those that secure data information. This is being captured in this agreement. Any information that is shared with the RBC is shared through an SFTP in a secured fashion with only those individuals that are required to have it. So that is what is before you today.
On section 10, they've removed the requirement that the, if needed, the financial documents are prepared by a certified public accountant.
Mm-hmm.
Why wouldn't we want that to be prepared by somebody with the knowledge and skills for a formal financial report?
So in my experience, we are not paying anything into this. So there is nothing that we as a district are paying into. This is essentially working with them. They are able to send information to retirees and go forward with that. I can get some additional information in regards to that specific question in advance of the June business meeting,
Well,
just to
who
kind of
currently, so if it's not a CPA,
Mhm.
it would be Patty and her team?
No,
that
this
way, or who
this is
it?
this is a consortium made up of the board of a separate entity. For instance, Duval County
So we
Schools is a
don't
part
have
of it.
to-
No,
we
this
don't
is
have
not
to
under our fiscal
reports.
responsibility.
Okay,
No.
I see. So this same document is being provided to all of these different boards
Yep.
to approve?
Yep.
Okay.
And this has been a bit of a process with them. They've sent it to us a little bit ago, and this now is before you.
Huh.
That is interesting, though, then who, if they're not gonna have an accountant, then who do they have?
Right, and then. what
You
does that look
can
like?
have an accountant draw up your information and work with you through these processes. Like, they don't have to utilize this. Our retirees.
No, absolutely
do
not.
not have to utilize this service. This is a service that is available to them if they so choose. And if they do choose to, then they need to understand that language around the fiscal
Mhm.
responsibility. But many of our retirees don't utilize it at all.
Don't utilize this service at all.
They just
Correct.
utilize their own accountant or financial advisor that is helping them to find resources maybe that are out.
Oh, I was interpreting that it's not that they would provide a CPA for the individual, for the employee. This is when they have their annual reviews and they're on the funds that they've been managing. Shouldn't that be just like us? We just paid over 17 grand for a CPA, right? Wouldn't they have to do the same thing?
I can get further clarification on why they felt the need to make that adjustment, share it to the board. But at the end of the day, I believe it's those are the funds that that organization is bringing in.
Yeah.
You know.
Okay.
All right, any other questions? All right, 10.02, insurance broker agreement amendment.
Okay. Board, we've had the discussion throughout the year regarding insurance. Our current agreement with Brown & Brown ended as of January 1st of this year. This just kind of codifies the month-to-month agreement as we go through the RFP process for a new broker agreement.
Are they charging us extra to go month to month?
No, it's the same, what we pay like on a quarterly basis, it's the same amount. They kept it level.
Where are we in that RFP process?
So this week it goes to the committee for scoring.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay. Personal items then, 10.03.
This is our monthly personnel items. I'm available to answer any questions you may have regarding this.
So obviously, this is a big transition time.
Yeah.
How are we comparing to previous years in the retention of staff?
I don't really have any wood or anything to knock, but I think we're in pretty good.
Pretend this is real wood.
Yes, so we are in a pretty good spot. As we look to continuously be fiscally conservative and responsible with our staffing, through normal attrition, folks deciding to move on, whether it be through retirement or just other opportunities, we've been able to use and adjust our existing staffing to fit the needs of the district while not having to restrict and say, hey, goodbye, thank you so much. We are very lucky with our district compared to some of our neighboring districts to not have to forcibly show folks the door as it relates to consolidating our staffing. As we head into the summer, I am feeling pretty good, and our team is feeling pretty good about being able to post our vacancies, attain qualified applicants, and go through that process. So we'll see as we get towards the heat of the summer and towards the end, because we always get those last minute surprises,
Right.
folks that are job hunting right now, and then after 4th of July, they go, oh yeah, and by the way, I'm not coming back. So that'll be our true indicator, is right now we feel like we're getting ourselves put in a really good spot, but we'll see as we get closer to crunch time.
Yeah, we have a couple hard to fill
Mhm.
positions like science. I know that there are, I think, 2 science related positions at Matanzas High School that need to be filled, but overall our schools are in a really, really good place. As a district, we're in a good place. Of course, you know, we always monitor those hard to fill positions a little bit closely, but retention wise and attrition wise for our staffing, we're in a really good place.
Great.
Even down to
Thank you.
our non-instructional staff.
Great.
So, we are going to, thank you, Mr. Walker, 17.01. Mr. Drawlett, the milk and dairy bid. And Mr. Baker.
Did we miss, oh, that, no,
That's coming
sorry.
afterwards, yeah.
I forgot to look at my update.
And we really should have had Mr. Walker stay and do it, but it's okay. Just get them to come closer so that you're ready to go when they're finished, please.
Good afternoon, Chair Chong, Vice Chair Furry, members of the board, and Superintendent Moore. A little bit of background for this. The district currently purchases our milk and dairy products under the terms of a Putnam County Schools RFP. It's coded 5400724115. The district recently issued an invitation to bid, coded invitation to bid number 26-04 for milk and dairy products to establish a new contract with a milk and dairy supplier. The district was able to identify a responsive and responsible supplier through a competitive solicitation to ensure maximum fiscal value. After ensuring that bidders satisfied all requirements in the ITB document, as well as federal, state, and local law, the lowest average cost across all requested products was the sole factor used to determine the vendor recommended for award. DFA Dairy Brands Fluid LLC had the lowest average cost, along with notable savings on our items with the most usage, such as 8-ounce cartons of milk when compared to other bidders. We anticipate that partnering with the recommended vendor will bring significant savings annually and over the course of the contract. This agreement will have an initial term of 3 years, starting July 1st, 2026, and running through June 30th, 2029, with 2 additional 1-year renewal terms. We recommend the board approve the award and contract with DFA Dairy Brands Fluid LLC for the provision of milk and dairy products under invitation to bid number 26-04. Do you have any questions?
I have a question. When you say significant savings, what does that translate into?
Quick math.
Just a rough estimate.
Well, we're doing about 2.5 cents a carton less. Did 500,000? So is that?
Yeah, so and is there any cost in the transition for us? Is it seamless?
It's seamless.
Okay, that's
Yeah,
fantastic.
that's huge. Yeah. And to be clear, the DFA Dairy Brands is TG Lee. That was their parent company name.
Is that local, like Florida?
Jacksonville.
Jacksonville.
They're headquartered out of the Milk District of Orlando and Winter Park, and then their distribution plant's out of Jacksonville. And I think that's part of our savings is our current vendor at a substantially higher cost. They're coming all the way from Tampa. As we mentioned with diesel earlier,
Mhm.
they have to factor that in, so.
And they're not getting other distribution points along the way between.
And they have to come in the truck, the cooler truck.
Yep.
That's where the savings.
And there's
For sure.
nothing in here, like for example, let's say that something happens to gas prices again, it goes to $6 a gallon. There's nothing that allows them to do a offset or a fee. I've seen this a lot in many industries, right, even in airlines, where they'll list the price of the ticket, but then when you go to check out, they're adding an offset fee.
You know, and I'd just like to add, it's interesting to see how such a change just in location of distribution can impact the amount we're spending significantly. I'm thinking that, do we already take that into account when we're measuring vendors? Because I'm thinking about, commodity prices, they're always fluctuating, and fuel is the one that often translates right back into our general fund, but hits our general fund. But in a long-term relationship, right, when these things happen, if they're closer to us, they may not be impacted. So we may not be realizing the impact of something, a macro economic event now, but we might in the future. So the fact that they're closer, maybe in the adjustments going forward, we may not get hit. So I mean, it might just be another measure we might take into consideration, just based on what we've been seeing over the last, especially since COVID,
I'll defer to you real quick and then have a comment on that as well.
Yeah. Firstly, to answer your question, Ms. Ruddy, this one does not have a fuel surcharge clause in it. Some of our agreements do have a fuel surcharge. If gas hits a certain dollar amount, then they
Okay.
charge us a
Great.
percent.
So they cannot do that.
No, but we do adjust the pricing on this as milk prices fluctuate.
Sure.
We're required to do it.
Because the milk prices are set by the federal government, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. Location is something that not in any I've done yet we have factored, but it definitely would be something to look at going forward.
Yeah, I mean, we're just seeing proof positive right here, and that seems, I mean, I don't know if it's a matter of fact, but it appears that is, the transportation distance makes a big difference in their bottom line and the ultimate price they charge us. So, okay.
It does. The only ones I've seen and ones that I've done so far are we have requirements on how fast vendors have to be able to respond, how close their immediate location is in the event of an emergency for contractors and stuff. But that could be something we look at for future solicitation.
Well done on finding that savings.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. 18.01, special leave, application, Mr. Walker.
Threes are good luck, right? Okay, so in front of you guys today is a special application for leave for an employee who over the past 2 years has had an MOU between the district and the Florida Educators Association to be away from our job site to work for FEA. So this year, instead of going the route of an MOU, they are asking or she is asking specifically to just take a 1-year unpaid leave of absence. Because she would be getting compensation from another organization during this leave is why it has to be its own special item in front of the board. We've done this similarly in the past when we've had educators go overseas to do certain special projects and set those up, so.
And already it's within our policies that somebody can take a leave of absence. They could receive payment, they just can't take, let's say, another educator role somewhere else, or else that's considered, parting, not really leave of absence.
So anytime they would receive compensation while trying to be on unpaid leave from us, it has to come before the board as a special item.
Oh, even if it's not in a similar role?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
But this is not a similar role to what she has
Correct,
already?
it is not.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Thank you, Mr. Walker. We'll go back to our board policy updates with Mr. Sanfilippo.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
How's everyone doing this fine, fabulous afternoon?
Great to be with you.
Yes. I have before you, there's 10 individual policies, but It's basically 5 policies because there's some repeated based on positions. Same process as always. We can go through these policies real quickly. I'll tell you just for your information and for the sake of the community, these are the last policies for this group that we're working on. After we finish today, they'll come back before you for with June 23rd, I believe it is, and then for a request for permission to advertise. That's where we currently are because it is June, and in July, Neola releases their next bunch of policies. So we'll have another group in July to be discussing from there. So to begin, we can start right in if you want to start with 1124, 3124, and 4124, which is drug-free workplace.
I have some questions on this one, just generally. So when somebody applies, we across the board, if we're going to hire them, send them for a drug test?
Yes.
And we pay for that drug test?
Yes, so for non-DOT drug screens, they all go through the Marathon, the Wellness Center, through Flagler Schools, and it's a pass-through to the district.
Which has saved us money, correct?
Yes, it used to be, before the Wellness Center, new hires were paying like $35 a pop before they would even, come through the doors, and now it's a pass-through.
Didn't they take much longer? Do we get it back faster now?
We get it back a lot faster now through the Wellness Center. We get usually same-day results if it's a non-positive.
Okay. On all of these, under the disciplinary sanctions, it removed the statement saying disciplinary action may be instituted against an employee who's violated this policy, blah, 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 blah. Instead, saying on first offense, or was that also there before? I see what's being asked to be removed, but I'm not sure if the highlights came through on what was additive. And my question there is, it says on first offense based upon mitigating circumstances. There could be a lot, hey, does somebody, their prescription is interfering, other things. But I guess my concern with this, sometimes that could create a lot of, things are not black and white, right? And then it could make it seem like we're favoring an individual over another, right? So why isn't it written instead disciplinary action may be instituted unless barring superintendent-approved mitigating circumstances falling within our policy or SOPs or something?
And I think that's kind of where we were trying to get to with it, because the initial language where it says who the board believes will not be assisted by rehabilitation, that was even grayer. That is, how do I understand
Right, I'm not qualified to make that determination.
Exactly. So we put in mitigating circumstances, and under the purview of the superintendent's direction, that would be where we would go and go, Ms. Moore, these are the facts that we have at this time. We can go this route, and this allows us to take that into consideration as an administrative team. And we're not making the determination on if Joshua would be
Suited.
exactly suited for rehabilitation or like that.
What do you think on that where it says based upon mitigating circumstances? Should we have some predefined mitigating circumstances? So it does not, if this were to actually come across the superintendent's table or Mr. Walker's table, seem like we're favoring one individual over another and get ourselves into a pickle?
I'm happy to answer your question, and I definitely have a response for you. But I would defer to your counsel for his opinion on that.
Okay.
Well,
All right.
thank you. Having broad discretion to interpret mitigating circumstances does raise the concern that different individuals would be treated differently. So my recommendation would be to have a very narrow set of potentially mitigating circumstances and make an effort to define those. So there would not be a broad amount of discretion that could be applied. Because I think that could lead to different outcomes which would be characterized as unfair outcomes.
That's where I'm leaning as well.
Okay. So we
Who-
will draft up,
who's-
we can draft,
okay,
yeah,
so
we
you
will
guys are
draft
gonna
up some
draft
things
that? Okay.
between the two, and we'll bring back for you.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
That's something to think about. I mean, because when we all got elected, we had to do a drug test, right? Like, what if you had an elected official that tested positive? What do you do, you know?
Well,
That is an
actually,
interesting
Should
thing.
we have-
That's actually-
I did wonder why that was not done before we were.
It's
Yeah,
not
we were like,
supposed to
now we
be.
gotta take.
Yeah, but you have to be, I would, I don't know what the state statute is on that, but I guess you could you not just not be an employee of the district and not get paid? I mean, I don't know what the consequence is.
Well, my
after you've been
understanding was
elected.
that, we were all nice in complying with that, but
You
that.
didn't have to?
They don't have to, and it is up to the fine people to determine our fitness.
Well, no one's got anything to hide up here. So, yeah, but that's an interesting point that you bring up. I think that's more of a state level.
But I will tell you that we have had employees to have, I'm gonna say false positive, because I don't know that that's the accurate term, but that we've had to work with, to your example around specific medication and such, that we've had to work with them and their medical doctors for any justification related to that. But if those individuals aren't able to produce that, then we would move towards termination if appropriate.
And do we have certain thresholds, like, and I'm ignorant to this, but, I've seen, like, if you go to particular liquor stores, they have a substance that says, like, it says THC on the can. Well, I'm like, that's supposed to be illegal, right? Unless it's medical. So if somebody were to take that, what is the threshold? How do we ensure that it's not something that is clearly approved by the state, which was news to me? See what I'm saying?
Yeah. They tested for a level of like cannabinoids, right, for THC and things like that. And I would imagine, I'm not an expert here
That's
by any
them.
means.
They give us positive.
We see positive or negative.
They don't
And
give
then
us a
In the
percentage.
event we have a non-negative, right, where it says like, hey, there could be something here, then it goes to a medical review officer who then looks at it and goes,
Okay.
okay, these are the levels. They reach out to the person and go, hey, you got popped for X. Do you want to know? Oh, I'm taking these prescriptions. Here you go. Okay. And then they sign off going, yep, this is valid. They're good to continue, or no, there's no valid reason for X to be
Okay.
positive.
So we do have a
Yes.
secondary
Yes.
Yeah.
to ensure that
Yep.
we're not,
Yeah.
okay. Beautiful.
Next. Are we on 3124 or 41?
1124, 3124, and 4124 are all the same, drug for the workplace. That's the information
So
we're
we
working on.
can-
We
Yeah,
can
we
jump
can
that.
Yeah, we keep moving
I'm
past
going to
those.
jump to 1139, educator misconduct. This is the conversation we've been having about trespassing. So there was some language that was added about the superintendent shall develop and implement procedures governing employee-related trespass determinations.
That's the addition that has been placed based upon our previous workshop.
Yes.
Any questions?
I just feel that that doesn't, like, that already happens, right? It's not narrowing or making definitive those two scenarios that we had, I had clearly outlined in that workshop. This is that it may or may not be, and/or doesn't clearly state, hey, if you resigned in lieu of termination due to, you could even list that legislative, that bill. It seems very light to me. I don't know the rest of the board.
And we can
That
go back
really-
and look, but I thought that's where we landed with language to say that we would develop procedures. And if we have missed the mark on that, that's fine, and we can go back and ensure that we have the correct language. To your point, Ms. Ruddy, if an individual resigns in lieu of or attempts to resign in the midst of an investigation, we will continue with that investigation and move towards termination and we are upfront with that individual to say that. Once we've concluded, we do not give an individual an opportunity to resign in lieu of termination related to offenses against our students. So if it has come that, you have physically abused one of our students, we would not give an individual an opportunity to say, can I resign in lieu of termination? Our response is no, we are moving
Well,
forward.
there was a record that came to my attention, which is publicly available, that it's, when you look it up, it says resigned in lieu of termination, and then, through conversations with our HR department, the circumstances around that were that the officers or the investigation did not yield enough evidence to prosecute. So I don't know if that's where it kind of fell out, in that it doesn't list through the DOE on the document that it says terminated, even though we finished that particular investigation. And that's what, to me, a little, I want to give you the ability to develop that policy and how that's going to be executed, but some clarity around, you violate this particular statute, whether or not there's enough to hold you criminally liable, we will pursue trespass, whatever it may be against you.
Let us, so what can we add? Because I will say that particular case that you're referencing, that I believe that you're referencing, was prior to my leadership and this board's leadership. And so we want to make sure that we've codified in writing what the expectations are and what we are currently doing. So is there any guidance that you as a board can give us to what we should add here to make this a little bit clearer?
Any employee who, essentially we can classify those areas, will be subject to the policies that the superintendent has determined around trespass. So any employee who has been terminated due to investigations around, and you can list the bill numbers, which escape me right now, then, which is about, sexual conduct and power against a student, whether they're 18 or older, inappropriate relationships, that those situations will be trespassed even past your employment with the district. I would have to sit down and write it to make it smooth, but essentially that's the
So you're asking that specific offenses or statutes are listed here, as far as like the ones that you contributing to delinquency of a minor, something related to, and they're escaping me as well. So you would like to see specific offenses listed here, as you will, and not.
Well, maybe we could say, for example, so that we're not limited, to your point. But something in there that, I don't want somebody to say, hey, you know what, the sheriff's office didn't pursue it, so you don't have the right. What we want to say is essentially, we are going to ensure ultimate, go beyond a minimum expectation to provide a safe environment for our students. So whether or not criminal investigation or you're found criminally liable, we may choose to continue to trespass you, even without those criminal charges being present.
So
Can we though?
But
Yes.
Well,
That's
here-
what we
I have a
discussed.
question for Mr. Delaney.
Well, yeah, I was listening on that.
Attorney Delaney. Hearing Ms. Ruddy's request here for language change here, but not so much the words, but the spirit of what she's seeking to accomplish through this additional language, does the way it's written right now allow for everything that she requested to have this policy in force as it's written now, or does it need additional language to accomplish that?
I would recommend putting some additional language in there, and I want to make sure that we're capturing the trend of the discussion. If I'm understanding correctly, conduct that did not support a criminal prosecution but did support termination by the district would be the triggering event for the trespass. Do I have that right?
That's why he's got the lawyer credentials. There you go.
So you
Thank you,
want to
Mr.
see
Delaney.
the termination language
Something
included here.
around that, right, exactly what he said. Even though it didn't meet the requirements for a criminal charge, we hold a higher standard and may trespass you.
And I think something like, obviously you may need to wordsmith it, but that, I think, from my perspective, is what the community was looking for from just, the conversations that I have had with, parents or teachers or students, that they were looking for something like that. So if we can, I would misunderstood what you were stating earlier,
you're good.
but because I too, we all hear the different things, but I think that would do what community members and teachers may be looking for.
And what we've tried to do, and I don't want to speak for you, Mr. Smith, Attorney Smith, but remembering that these policies, you're going to see this same language in multiple areas. And so we tried to make it uniform, as are your other policies. So what is the language that we can capture it in all? And so this language may be appropriate for our visitors and volunteers, but adding the termination language specifically for under our educator misconduct. Yeah.
Or if putting if applicable.
Because it's not always gonna be termination.
They may be a volunteer, but they're not getting terminated. But if we state it in there, so putting if applicable, if they're in that, so it can, right?
My suggestion is that on certain language things that we defer to the attorneys to put the right words in there, but hopefully they're hearing the spirit of our request in our conversation, that we can accomplish it through the required legal language that keeps us in compliance.
Real briefly, this was something that we had a discussion about after the last meeting, but I think that we were thinking that we would just operationalize that through procedures that we developed, as referenced in the language. However, I completely concur with the wisdom behind the fact that what binds the state attorney's office or the criminal prosecution does not necessarily bind us. That's not just in light of the fact that about 98 to 99% of all cases in the criminal realm are subject to compromise because they're negotiated on a plea. This isn't something that would be negotiated in that way. We would negotiate the private interests versus the safety, the very powerful safety considerations with which we contend here. Those two things, along with the risk of depriving the person of that property right of coming onto the campus or whatever. So because that's dictated by the court. I think I'm hesitant about developing a triggering mechanism because it would limit our ability only in that circumstance, wherein we have that ability all the time. So there's cases wherein someone is prosecuted and then we want to trespass them from the property for circumstances that are overlapped by the criminal prosecution, but are not identical at all. And the evidence that we can rely upon is not as limited as that which is deemed appropriate for a court, you know, and is part of that conversation. Our breadth is wider, which is good, and I wouldn't want to limit us to just certain circumstances. I want to keep that, but I can turn that into a sentence or two
Yes.
to embody that wisdom that the board is giving to us.
I think that would
And
be
I'm happy to
perfect.
do it. Yeah, and probably should have done it before,
No,
you know,
it's-
because we did discuss that.
It's easier to
why
criticize
we
than
do-
create.
why we do
so-
workshops.
Marcus told me to do it.
Nice try. Great, thanks. Okay, so we're going to skip 1139.01 as well, because that will be the same language, and we'll adjust that language for that. So we could jump to 226102. This is all statutory language that came through from Neola for that.
I love the spreadsheet, by the way.
Thank you. And then 9160, part of our last conversation with David Bosserdet, he realized that there is a component we can add to strengthen this policy. If you look at the last sentence on 9160, that was added about, again, starting about trespassing the people that are already at the event. And we originally talked about adding that language to 9160 originally, but
Yeah.
felt it was better appropriate in the discipline side of it. So then we came back to this with this language here for persons
Yeah,
engaging.
I noticed that because I thought maybe that was the new language, but yeah, no, it makes sense. Mhm.
All right, so move forward with what we have and then come back to you with the additional language.
Thank you.
So we will come back at 1 o'clock because we have a few edits, and then we will come back at 6 o'clock. But the purpose of 6 o'clock is for advertisement, not for your approval.
Right.
It is, we're going to be requesting approval to advertise.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, I believe that's everything, so we'll go on to public comments. Board member request.
Not from me, we have a hefty list, so I'll give you some time to catch up.
Get through it, yes.
I do have some empathy. Look at
Yeah,
that.
thank you.
It's the first time.
All right, closing comments.
Let's see.
So I just want to celebrate several of the highlights that we've had across all of our communities and schools. So congratulations to our Flagler Palm Coast High School and Matanzas High School. The graduation, it was great. A long day, but it was amazing. Lots of smiles. Very exciting for everybody. And there were so many teachers that are not, some of them not required to even attend, and they were there and they made sure to see their students walk that stage. So it was pretty great. Had the opportunity to attend the African American Mentorship Program celebration. I haven't had a chance in the past, so it was great. It was really great. So this is a really good reminder of the mentorship and encouragement and community support for all of our students. So again, I'm always focused on more mentorship. So if you are someone looking to volunteer and assist with students, encouraging them, African American mentorship, that's one of very many that our schools are partnered with. So thank you to everyone. It was great to be there. Kickball, did we talk? I don't think we've talked about the kickball
We haven't.
tournament. I was a part of the championship team of our SRDs. It was great. It was so fun, so thank you for district staff for putting that together. The food, the music, the prizes that were given out. So it was amazing, so I highly encourage everyone to do that every year. Flagler Playhouse, they have plays every year. And if you have not been to one, even if you don't like plays, it is so fun. This year was my most favorite, Lion King.
You're talking specifically the Penguin
The
Project.
Penguin Project focused, like they usually do it at the Flagler Playhouse. So in Benell Elementary, the past 2 years have been letting them do their plays. Amazing opportunity for our students. So if you have a student with any type of exceptionality and they love theater or they don't, I highly recommend joining. You could also be a mentor. So both my nieces were in it, and it was amazing. So great job to Miss Jerry Berry, and thank you, Benell Elementary. And then I wanted to share, so I was recently appointed by the president of Florida's School Board Association to serve as the co-chair for the Know and Grow Committee. So I'm very excited. I'll be going to the leadership development for school board members across the state. And the best part is FSBA will be covering my expenses, so no need for requesting a budget for that. But that will be in August, so I'm excited for this leadership and development for our helping fellow school board members. And then Miss Ruddy and I, we're going to be going to the FSBA conference right after this. So thank you to community for allowing us to be a part of that organization. And so this week we're going to be focusing on like school safety. So the agenda is school safety, student achievement, workforce readiness, legislative updates, school finance, and then best practices from different school boards just across the state of Florida. So looking forward to seeing what we can bring back. And thank you very much for all the updates, and hope everyone has a good week.
Great. Yeah, very much looking forward to FSBA. The people who organize that really put on a really robust professional development, networking. It provides a great opportunity for us to share ideas across districts in the state and take the best of what's working. So looking forward to that. I do want to speak a little bit to some of the communications that I hear around vouchers in terms of the public saying, well, if that's what parents choose, then, you know, why is it affecting schools? Why are we crying about it all the time? You know, we're not, I'm not anyway opposed to choice as long as you're informed and the same rules apply. Those two items are still missing. And when people say, well, you know, it shouldn't affect you, they're just applying their money to other educational programs, that is not the case. So for example, today we had to spend money on $60,000 for HVAC, which is actually just small. We've spent, well, almost $1 million, I think, at HVACs for FPC in the past. So when we have fewer students and we have those type of capital improvements that need to be made, then that means less money per student can be used for educational purposes, because every student's essentially allotment needs to be larger in order to support those improvements. Think about our SRD officers. We don't have a ratio of SRD officers per students. We have a minimum of one on campus. The smaller the student body, the more that individual student's state contribution is going to pay for that salary. And when we look at what the school districts have been given from the state over the last 10 years, there are folks who are saying, well, look, you've gone from being receiving $220 million to $300 million, and saying, well, you must be mismanaging those funds. If you look between the last 10 years, what that increase is, and look at the increase from healthcare. Healthcare, that rate has gone up 10 to 20% every year. Just our electricity in our homes over the last 10 years has gone up over 100%, water over 100%. So a 25% increase in what we've been provided in funding is not keeping pace over that same 10-year period for our largest buckets of costs. Even to consider when we purchase materials, paint, hammers, equipment, in order to update or maintain our properties, that has gone up because of tariffs. The last quarter of this past school year, the tremendous amount of diesel fuel, which was a completely unexpected cost, those things are impacting us. And so it's the same as if you have a job where your rent goes up by 30%, your food bill goes up by 25%, and your salary only goes up by 3%. That's not mismanagement of funds. That's not being given enough to have and operate your household. And that's where what we run into. But Flagler has done an exceptional job in being the best choice for families and communicating that we are fiscally transparent, we are transparent with our academic performance, which is not the case amongst all of the opportunities or options you have to educate your child. So make sure that you're informed about all of these intricacies, and to Mr. Furry's previous comment regarding on the surface it can sound like, great, let's reduce property taxes, but it doesn't mean that those fees go away. And a lot of the fees that are covered by different agencies that we do work with in the county may now need to say, well, Flagler, you now need to absorb that. That's a large unknown, and how that may impact us coming up, and we shall see after November. Thank you.
Yes, I just want to highlight again, we had an amazing graduation day for Flagler Palm Coast and Matanzas High School, and plus many promotions throughout our district, going into middle school, some moving on into high school. So we celebrate all those achievements. Graduation is our main event where we send these scholars off to be the future leaders and people who will service within our community. You know, I am asked by some people sometimes, especially based on the makeup of our community, on why they should care about education if they don't have kids in the school or grandkids. Well, you inherit the product that we put out, and these are the future leaders. These are the people that are going to serve you in the hospital. They're going to serve you in the fire department. They're going to serve you in hospitality. And guess what? We have career and technical certifications for all three of those things I just mentioned, that you can leave here with a certification and start working right away. And I'm very pleased to hear that we have increased our participation in our Diploma Plus initiative, where we have gone from about 42% of our graduating class to now this year, 65% of our graduates left with something more than just a diploma. And I want to applaud our organization for pushing that initiative, and I'm even more grateful for those that took advantage of it, because it's going to pay dividends to you for many, many, many years to come. And I also was honored to celebrate the end of the year program with the AMP, which is the African American Mentorship Program. They highlighted some amazing mentors and mentees, and they're doing some amazing work out of there and producing outstanding young individuals and instilling great values in these kids. And I was just so moved by what has been accomplished this year, many years before, and they're also mentoring young ladies now in the last few years, and that is growing. And because of the generous donations from the Guines family, they've been able to now add another scholarship for the female mentees. So great things happening. Mentorship is one of the greatest things that you can do. Volunteering. We also have Take Stock in Children, which is also supported by the Ed Foundation. So I just call out to the community, if you have extra time, invest in a child's future by lending your time. And I'll yield my time.
I was going to say, Ms. Ruddy, that was a great way to articulate the budget, so thank you for that. It can, you know, it's difficult when you see attacks in the community, and you feel like the district, you've all accomplished so much, you know. We want our schools to be a great place for our children to be at and a great place for our community. You can travel to other parts of this country and their school buses look like they're from 1960, you know what I mean? Like, we're very blessed to have what we have and to be able to give our children a great place to go to school and be number one. So, yeah, just thank you guys, and it's been a great couple weeks just being able to celebrate graduations and the African American mentoring program, to be at all these things, and FTC, and there's just so much going on, and I'm just very proud of Flagler School. So thank you. I hope everybody enjoys summer.
It has been a great 25-26 school year. The last time we were together, right, school was still going on, but I agree, just a great year. Graduations are always a great reminder of the importance of the work that we're doing each and every day for our students and for this community. So while our students are at home and the majority of our staff are at home, we are doing lots of learning. We've had lots of professional learning happening over the last 2 weeks, and will continue into the summer. Many people think that, you know, students are home and therefore all of us are at home as well. That is not the case. Many of us still here and working to prepare for the upcoming school year. Families, make sure your children are being active with their bodies, but also active with their minds, reading, tutoring, all the things to help keep them engaged as they go throughout the summer. And if you're wondering how many days until we start all over again, 62. 62 days before we welcome our students back in for the 26-27 school year, and we're super excited to do that. We do hope that our staff that are out on summer break, that they have an opportunity to really rest. And we're super proud. The next time we come together, well, no, I guess maybe 2 more times, we'll start talking about school grades and district grades, and really so excited to share with the public all the hard work that our educators have been up to all year long. So thank you. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day.
Thank you. This meeting is adjourned.